we're talking about today. James Walter Stevens' book, A Quest Before Dying, Book 3 in the Wizards of Rayaloy series. The Central Kingdom Chronicles. There will be spoilers for a book that took me a long time to read. It was very enjoyable. It wasn't like one of those books where I had a hard time reading it because it was a slog. I just had other things on my mind. If you remember my review of the second book, it's a long story, but in my review of the second book, I mentioned that my favorite character got stuck in a bottle. One of my favorite characters got stuck in a bottle at the end of the second book. He gets out. Durin gets out. But it might have been an alternate timeline. It's a long story. Again, you're going to have to read it. Because most of this book takes place in an adjunct timeline. If life was a tree and each tree was a branch, the branch would still be over there, and he never specifically says the timeline is erased. So for all we know, he could pull what they pulled in Flashpoint Beyond and say, "Oh, this curses the bad guy, survived because his shoes weren't wet that day." I don't know. But there is a time traveling egg. It's really cool. That's why the book gets complicated, because one of the characters can remember the whole timeline. And Artemis is really old in this. This, you have a whole new set of characters because it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic version of the first book. If you enjoyed the first Wizards of Rayaloy, Quest Before Dying is, in the first book, you follow Artemis as a young boy, and in A Quest Before Dying, you follow Artemis as a very, very old man that hasn't really moved through time, hasn't allowed himself to move through time. And Whisper from the first book, yes, she's still very good looking, and the author goes out of his way to point that out, but she's crazy as all get out. And it's like, he even points out that people aren't supposed to live that long with Yuri and Whisper and maybe Turin, just all the characters from the first book. And like I said, John can actually see and remember the old timeline. So it's like, to him, it's just like restarting a video game. you get to travel through like other dimensions. It's really cool. I mean, yeah, it's just what can you expect from a fellow Booster Gold fan? Walter runs the Booster Gold fan site that has brought me many hours of joy ever since the original Linear Men site stopped updating. But that's neither here nor there. I just expect this. I knew there was going to be time travel at some point. Because if you know anything about Booster Gold, half of his adventures, or more than half, take place in some variety of time travel. I mean, 52, whole series. The, the only part I can really think of that didn't is the whole JLX thing. But back to this book. And, Heroes in Crisis. But again, back to this book. It was really very good. They didn't destroy the egg. They didn't say, "Oh, the egg's destroyed," and it blew up all of time, forcing them to go back to the moment of creation, and there can only be one timeline. But you're not allowed to see the last moment of creation points if you get the reference, and you better write him a ticket. That's the episode we should keep secret. Points if you get the reference. um, let's see. I want to spoil it, but I don't because this still isn't a very well known book or book series. Warlord of Mars and all the others that I've reviewed are pretty well known that aren't this, all except maybe Fu Manchu. So, anyway, I'd like more people to know about it, but at the same time, I feel I sort of have to. I mean, kind of just saying that my favorite character from the last Wizards of Rayaloy book wasn't the same because he was trapped in a bottle because the big battle took place and then the whole town did get destroyed and like everything got destroyed but they went back in time doesn't really cover it because yeah, you gotta explain that the big battle was caused by like their emperor dude. That's who Curse reminded me of. Emperor Palpatine. I mean, he gave off definite Emperor Palpatine here, blinking red sign. But they they did defeat him, kind of. I mean, but like I said, the egg that allowed them to go back in time, that that precipitated this whole adventure, didn't really get destroyed, so he could come back to it. I think there is a fourth book, so that's that. I mean, all the good guys kind of get erased after the final battle, but they come back for some unexplicable reason. It was just the final battle was just bonkers. I'm not gonna try to even spoil that because that is some stuff you have to read the whole book series to understand. It's Yeah, I mean, the genie turned into a zombie. See, you can't explain it. And Cursed was bringing back zombies left and right, and it was, and then there were four curses, and Eco, they destroy the courthouse, but Eco still won't leave the booth, and then he does, but he only got in trouble in the first place because of Durin. Uh, Durin was kind of like Conan if Conan went nuts. So definite. I'm sorry I had to nerd out about this for a little while, but definite 4 out of 5 because yeah, I mean I would have liked a bit more explanation on that final battle and how they were able to outfox the devil, but I think we'll get that in the fourth book. I really do. It was good to see that it picked up right where the second book left off. I had I had to, and that's part of the reason it took me so long because I had to ask Walter again, hey man, what order did these go in? Because the first one is pretty clear it's the first one. The second one and the third one run together so first part of the third book feels like it's just part of the second book and it blends together almost seamlessly. And I asked him right then when I was going through that part, when did these take place? He told me, thanks for that. But if you can get past that part, you're in for a good third ride. Yeah. Um the author is really, really nice. Can't wait to read the fourth book. I hope it's still in continuity, that they don't do what they don't like do what I'm afraid they're doing and create another timeline like with the Thomas Wayne Batman. But hey, it's been one heck of a ride. I would definitely consider picking up the fourth book. So again, that was Wizards of Rayaloy, Central Kingdom Chronicles, Book 3. You can't just walk off into the sunset, kids. Take care. Bob out. Is they just walked off into the sunset.